You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 39.
Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from Educalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life. Hello, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. If you're new, welcome. We're so happy you're here. We actually invite you to subscribe so that we can connect with you every Monday when our new episodes come out. If you are an avid listener, if you're binge listening, welcome back, and thanks for sharing your time and your energy with us. And thank you to everyone who has left us reviews lately. When you leave a review, it only takes a minute or so of your time, but it's truly what makes our podcast possible. It makes a huge difference in our small business, and it's really what keeps us going with the podcast. So if you haven't done so yet, please go ahead and leave us a review. Now, thank you to Cher D17, who said, Kaylee and Josiane have this wonderfully positive demeanor that just makes you smile while listening to them. They provide practical tips that help the listener actually make adjustments in their daily routine that help them practice a more mindful and balanced lifestyle. Thank you so much for leaving that review, and keep them coming, guys. Now, today, we're really excited. This has been a long time coming. We finally are having Catherine Greer on the show. Catherine Greer is a Canadian-Australian author, writing coach, and happiness blogger. She holds a Bachelor of Arts honors degree and a master's degree in English, and she loves to write, teach, and inspire. Her debut thriller set in Sydney, Love, Lie, Repeat, will be published by Penguin Random House in March 2019. Her growth mindset picture book, Jacaranda Snow, published by Wombat Books, has launched, I should say, in September this year. So previously, Catherine collaborated on Choosing Happiness, an award-winning nonfiction book available worldwide. Today, she blogs at catherinegreer.com.au, and that's Catherine, Catherine, Greer, Greer. Giving readers around the world a slice of happiness. Catherine also helps aspiring new writers with their books in her online course, Write Your Book This Year. With a unique mix of Canadian optimism and Australian savvy, Catherine loves connecting with people and sharing her wisdom about writing and life. She lives in Sydney with her husband, 2 teenage sons, and a fluffy fur baby named Holly Golightly. And we're pretty pumped because we've had the chance to create a lesson and resource toolkit for her picture book, Jacaranda Snow. So during the interview, Kaylee and Catherine are going to go a little deeper into what this free toolkit is and why it was created. So now, before we head over to the show, we just wanted to let you know that we decided not to put a registration deadline on Educalm Classroom. We decided to remove it, and there's a lot of reasons for this. We've just learned that in the education system, sometimes we've got people who are waiting to receive grant money. We've got people waiting on their division to okay the money spent on Educalm Classroom. So we actually just decided to remove it. So you'll be able now to purchase Educalm Classroom whenever you feel like it. As we're a pretty new business, we're always learning and growing, and we just realized that, it's better to start using Educalm Classroom in the middle of the school year rather than not use it at all. So that's kind of where we're at. So forget about the registration deadline of October 31st. It'll be up. You'll be able to pay for it, buy it whenever you want throughout the year. And you know what? One year I actually, when I started doing this was totally like in the middle of the year. It was in the dead of the winter when I needed a little pick me up. And that's when I started practicing mindfulness with my students. And even though I started in the middle of the year, it went so well and my students took away so much from it. And so, yeah, just post discussions, it's kind of the decision that we made. So we just wanted to let you know that we appreciate your patience as we're trying to figure out all this business stuff, which is not anything that we've studied. So yeah, it's quite the journey, and thank you for being along, and you give us the space to change our minds and to make improvements. And we're all about that growth mindset. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now let's go to the show.
Hello there, Catherine, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. We are beyond excited to finally have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's so funny because it's the middle of spring here in Sydney, but it's actually a really rainy day. So we had beautiful weather this week, but all of a sudden we've got rain. What's happening in your end of the world?
It's so funny. We are currently recording this on October 3rd, and I am in a full blizzard right now. It is snowing. It looks like I'm inside of a snow globe. It is beautiful. And I just feel like that was so fitting for our conversation today, because we are talking about your new book, Jacaranda Snow, and it just is so perfect. So Catherine, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I live in Sydney, but as you can tell from my accent, I'm still very Canadian sounding. I've been in Australia and been an Australian for 20 years. We have 2 teenage boys. My husband and I moved here for his work a long time ago, and we do love living in Sydney, but we really, really also miss Canada. So I feel like I have a heart in both countries, which I guess in a way led to the writing of this book. Has a funny title, Jacaranda Snow, and it is really a collaboration almost between the 2 countries.
That is amazing. So can you tell us where this book idea came from and what it's about?
Absolutely. So I started my writing journey in earnest a couple of years ago. I had decided in the middle of my life that I'd left the writing so long. I had a copywriting business here in Sydney, but I really wanted to write creatively. And so I took a children's book writing class and had an experience when my little boys were young. They were Canadian, Australian, but really wanted to see the snow. And there is snow here in Australia. Not a lot of it, not the quality that you get in Canada, but there is snow. But at the time when the boys asked, we actually really couldn't afford to take them on an overseas holiday back home. So my husband and I took them down to these 2 trees near our house, and a little old woman on the street who lived there had planted the trees when her children were babies. And how this worked in Australia, it's fascinating. They used to give mothers who left maternity hospitals, they'd give them their new baby and they'd give them a jacaranda tree in a tin can, a little seedling. And the women would go home and they would often plant these trees outside their homes. And then the trees would grow up alongside the kids. So we took our kids to these 2 jacaranda trees and we shook the trees, and all of these beautiful purple blossoms fell down on them. And we said, this is what snow feels like. So the idea for the story Jacaranda Snow really came from that personal story. And then what layered on top of it, Kaylee, was that I was reading about the plight of Australian children. And what we don't know is that there's 750,000 kids who live in this country who live below the poverty line. And I was starting to think about what classrooms look like for those kids and what their reading experience is like. And I realized that they almost never see themselves represented in books, not their lives, not the life of potentially maybe not having enough to eat or not having the things that regular kids have, like holidays or, wishes granted, all of that. And so I really put the 2 ideas together and wrote the book featuring a little girl who lives with a growth mindset and lives in flow and realizes that if she changes her mindset, she can actually change her world. And I think the reason Jacaranda Snow is so interesting is that, let's face it, with the work you guys do at Educalm and with the writing that I did in this book, the truth is that it seems like children can't change their worlds, right? It seems like they have no power at all. They're powerless. Things happen to them and all they do is respond. But I guess we have a different point of view, right? And
yes.
yeah, and our way of looking at the world from a child's perspective is that a child is actually extremely powerful because a child, like all of us, controls their own mind. And so I started to put all these ideas together with the concept of mindfulness and think about this little girl who lives in poverty with her gran. She's got a lot of love in her family, but not a lot of money. She wants to see the snow, which for Australian kids is a very big deal. It is so exciting. And she finds a way to do it. But her snow is Jacaranda Snow. And so, yeah, when I completed the story, that's, I guess, how the collaboration started. You can speak to this. I can't even really remember how we connected on it. Did I approach you? Did you approach me?
Yes, you approached us and you told us about your story that involved growth mindset and a little overview about your main character Jess's story, and we just thought it was so amazing. And also you're just such a kind, and you just like ooze kindness and joy. So we were so excited to work with you, and you asked if we would be interested in creating an Educalm package to go with the book Jacaranda Snow. So we came up with a guided mindfulness practice that goes with the book. And we even have a whole lesson plan, to go through the reading of the book, discussion on the book, and then some Educalm posters that, incorporate some photos from the book into the posters, and all around this growth mindset. And one thing that we absolutely loved about your book was this sentence that keeps getting repeated of not yet, but one day. And the idea that we're not there yet, but we're still working towards our goals. And we just connected with that so much, and we were so excited to create that. So yeah, we're excited to share that with any of the Jacaranda Snow readers.
The thing that's so beautiful about what you guys did as well, and this whole book has really been a labor of love and joy for everybody involved. And the kids who are reading it now here in Australia are responding so beautifully. I'm just so excited to see them. But what I love about what you guys did is you offer this entire package, and your listeners should know that it's free.
Yes.
So when you buy a copy of the book, all of that information, the whole recorded mindfulness practice, everything is there on the Educalm website, which is so fantastic for the schools in Australia and in Canada, anywhere in the world, and the kids who are buying this, and even for parents as well. You could definitely go in, check out the whole lesson plan, and it's all there for you. So you just point and click, right? That's it.
Exactly. There's no prep required. That's like our tagline for everything that we do. We know the reality for teachers. There's so much on your plate. So everything we create is ready to go, ready to use right off the bat. And same thing with parents. So we loved collaborating with this on you. It was so fun. And it was so exciting to see your journey with this book unfold, as well as you're looking for publishers and getting it all rolling. It was really, really great to see that journey.
Yeah, the publishing journey was really special on this. What happened is, actually, based on a verbal pitch, a publisher here in Australia, Wombat Books, took the book straight away. So that was kind of exciting. And some other amazing things have happened around the book as well. And one of them is I was hoping for a particular Australian illustrator. And the way that this works, not many people know, but when you write a picture book, the illustration and the picture book writing are done separately by two people, and you don't pair up yourselves. So what you do is submit a manuscript to a publisher. If they accept it, then what they do is pair you with an illustrator so that they have quality control and they get the kind of product they want. And I was really hoping for this amazing award-winning artist named Helene Magison, who is also an immigrant here in Australia. She is a French Australian woman. She actually spent a lot of time at the Louvre. In Paris, she worked on illumination on medieval paintings. So she's a beautiful, fine artist. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. I got paired with Helene, and she's done the illustrations in the book, which are gorgeous. They are just beautiful watercolors. Each painting, it's a series of 16 paintings, and they're gorgeous. And then something even more magical happened, and that was when Helene was preparing the illustrations for this book, she had to find a way to come up with Jess's desire to see snow. So how do you illustrate that creatively? It's a really interesting problem. And one day in Sydney, I just walked into a store randomly, and I saw a table filled with snow globes. And inside the snow globes were these little girls. And I got the book illustrations back from Helene that day. She had never been in the shop, never seen them. But what she'd done is put the little girl inside all of these snow globes in the book. So it was like a magical moment. I don't even know how that could have existed. So I actually bought a bunch of snow globes that look like they have the little girl from the story inside them. It's so funny.
That is so cool.
It is. And then the second brilliant thing that happened, aside from teaming up with you, is that I also collaborated with an amazing award-winning young composer who was 17 years old at the time. His name is Alexander Lau, and he's a very, very talented musician. He's a violinist, but he's also a young composer. And he decided that, yes, he'd love to compose a piece of music to go with Jacaranda Snow. And he wrote a piano quintet. So it's a score for piano, cello, and 2 violins called Jacaranda Snow. And if your listeners go onto YouTube and search Jacaranda Snow on YouTube, they will see Helene doing a time-lapse painting of the cover to Alex's music. And we're going to have the piano quintet perform at events here in Sydney, and very excited. And best of all, that score has been reduced down as a piano score, and it's actually printed in the book. So if anyone plays piano, they can actually play the music that goes with Jacaranda Snow.
Wow, I just have goosebumps. It sounds like the whole unfolding of this book has just been, you said the word magical. That's exactly what it sounded like. So I'm curious, Catherine, how do you think, and maybe why do you think that this process that could potentially be a really difficult and stressful process of getting a book published and rolling it out, and it seems like these things have flowed with so much joy and magic for you. Why do you think that is?
I actually think that this book has a message that makes it a modern Australian classic story, because it combines the history of something very important that happened in this country. It combines the love of a lot of immigrants, so that would be me and Helene and Alex's family 2 generations ago. We're also immigrants to this country. The magic that Canadians wanted to be involved. Honestly, I just think that when you have the right idea and act with a pure heart on it, that opportunities open up. And that's the thinking behind the book as well, isn't it? Really, the message that we like to share with kids, that they can get their mindset in the right place, and then incredible things will happen for them, and adults too.
That's amazing. So you're really truly living kind of this story that you're sharing. Can you go a little bit more into detail about the growth mindset and the flow aspect in this story and what this story is teaching children?
Absolutely. So, as you know, growth mindset is part of the work of Dr. Carol Dweck, and she has a very famous book called Mindset, which is actually got a simple message. So it's quite a long book, but it could be distilled very simply, like a lot of nonfiction books can, where what children really, and adults as well, really need to do is to be open-minded about their own abilities and believe that they have the capacity to learn. We used to think years ago that we were fixed at a certain level of intelligence or a certain level of ability, and that we could never move beyond that. And honestly, Kaylee, when I was in the classroom 20 years ago, I was an English teacher at that point. I think that was really the thinking around education as well, that kids could get maybe a bit better with their learning, but not much. And now all of the research and all of the mindfulness work that people like you do point to the fact that children can just increase their capability if they actually have the right mindset and tackle their work in a way that lets them grow. So, yeah, that's the growth mindset aspect behind the book. I think the flow aspect for me, the importance of that is the idea that children really can learn to get themselves working from a place of happiness and ease. And we align with this message, I'm sure, with what you're doing with Educalm, but working from a place of happiness and joy always produces a better result, always. And I think some people, I'm sure, get feeling good from maybe the anxiety of hustling. But for most people, the best work comes when you have this deep sense of self-belief that no matter what unfolds, it's going to be okay. And I can do me really, really well, like you can do you really, really well. And so I think sharing that message with little children, letting them see that their lives will unfold if they take one step after another, listening to the voice inside them that's driving them. And it was funny, when I was training this morning, we train in the park at 6 a.m, my husband and I. When I was doing training, I was doing push-ups, and I always fantasize when I'm training because I hate those push-ups so much. But anyway, when I was doing them this morning, I was thinking about myself as a little girl, and I realized when I was in grade 5, I made a book for myself. It was part of an assignment we were doing in our English class. And I had felt so much joy at that moment. It was way back when. So it was, paper and stuck together in a binder, nothing professional like kids would do nowadays. But I made my first book and I felt extreme joy. And, I'm still doing that today, over and over and over in my career as an author. And I still feel the same level of joy and excitement. It's almost as if, Kaylee, it doesn't matter what happens to those books or who's involved or how they bless the world or how they get out. And I really do hope they're hugely successful. But I have so much joy, quote unquote, making them, whether that's writing a 500-word picture book or writing a novel, which I've done as well, or a nonfiction book. I think for all of us, the message is this, for everyone listening today: whatever your joy is, if you just pursue it one step after another and stay in it and really love it, that's what produces magical results.
Yes. Amen. I'm just nodding my head. I've got goosebumps. I'm like, yes, that is exactly it. It's about the joy of the creative process and the joy of doing the thing that you feel called to do, the thing that lights you up inside, because that's what you're meant to share with the world. And, when you told that story of yourself in grade 5 and how you were writing that book and it just felt so good, that just brought me instantly back to myself at that young age and what was I up to and what brought me joy. And then thinking now I'm teaching a grade 5 classroom and they're in grade 5 right now. And it's so neat to see the joy, the things that they love to do. Each one of them has something that they're so drawn to. Some of them love to draw. Some of them love to write. It's just, it kind of gets the wheels turning. Go, wow, what are you going to create when you grow up, when you get older? I see the joy coming through them and just the enjoyment of the doing. And as an adult, as an adult, we put so much pressure on the outcome. Like, what is this going to create? And then what am I going to do with it? But I love that you created this book out of joy. And then because you've infused it with the joy throughout the process, what has flowed has just been another cool thing, another fun surprise, another magical surprise. And I can totally relate to that because that has been the unfolding of Educalm for Josiane and I as well. Just the next cool, fun thing as we're in the process of enjoying what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you have a lot of adults listening to you today who probably, I mean, it's easy to feel in a place of burnout or tiredness or exhaustion or looking for answers. And I think the answer is really inside of us in two places. Number one, what did you do when you were a little child that gave you joy? Because that's a clue. It's a really important clue about what you love. And it may even be just, maybe shooting baskets or playing soccer, whatever it was where you lost yourself. That's one clue. The other clue is, can you just let go of the outcome with something and follow the breadcrumbs of your own happiness and see where that takes you? Because I've been thinking lately, we often follow other people, right? We look at someone hugely successful. So I might look at a writer like Liz Gilbert or a writer like Anne Patchett or someone like that and think, I need to do what that woman does to be successful in my career. But in fact, that successful person, Richard Branson, Liz Gilbert, whoever, they were listening to their own voice inside them, telling them, nudging them, do this next, do this next, do this next. And I think as a society, if we can stop looking outward and really start looking inward and access who we are, that's what's itching to get out of us. The full expression of who we are as a person is really what is going to move that needle, move that dial, like cause us to be operating in our full success and our full joy. It's not what somebody else is doing or how somebody else has even done it.
Yes.
And your path may look windy and twisty and look at me. People can't see me, but I suppose if they look at the show notes, I started my writing journey in the middle of my life. So I tell people, I draw a line and I start at 0 and it ends, our lives now end around 100 if we're lucky. I'm at 50. And I have in the last few years, 2 to 3 years, generated, created these beautiful books, signed amazing book deals with big publishers like Penguin Random House. My first novel with them is coming out in March 2019, and it's very different from Jacaranda Snow. It's a twisty, turny, psychological thriller about girls and mothers and perfection. Yes, it's a very juicy book. So watch for that. It's called Love, Lie, Repeat. And Love, Lie, Repeat is about 3 teenage girls and the mothers who really drive those girls to be perfect, which I think a lot of young people suffer from. And a lot of us suffer from the feeling that we are supposed to be so Instagrammable. Every shot in our lives needs to be curated. So the pursuit of perfection is really a problem for us right now. And I found that fascinating. And I thought, I want to write about that. And then talk to people about that. Women like you, open up the dialogue. Why are we forcing ourselves to be perfect? One of the things that I love to share with teachers, and I wish someone could have shared this with me when I was a young woman, is the central message. And I have a happiness blog, and I blog about this quite a lot, and a lot of women connect with it. And it's the concept that you are not for everyone, and neither am I. And I think that when you're a teacher in a classroom, you have got 25 to 30 little personalities there, or big personalities. I taught high school. The students were very mature. And we have to recognize that when you're in that position at the front of the room, yes, you're in a position of authority, and yet human nature dictates that not everybody in that room is connecting with you, right?
Exactly.
And you are not, in turn, you are not connecting really at a heart level with every person in that room yourself. Though you love and respect your students and of course want the best for them, and you're behaving as a professional and really maturely, you've still got this human dialectic happening where you really connect with some kids. They're there at your desk after class, talking to you, telling you about their weekend, whatever it is. And then other students, they really, they're just not your people. So what do teachers do with that? And how can mindfulness help them? That's a really interesting question. So I'd like to turn that one back to you. What can a mindfulness practice do for a teacher, knowing that that's the psychological state for all of us, right? We're not for everyone.
That is something that I have worked through a lot on my own journey of, that realization that I got to the point where I was like, I'm trying so hard. Why does this kid not like me? Why does this kid not like my class? Or why does this parent not see how much I'm working for their kids? And always wondering, like, why don't they connect? And why don't they see how important this is to me? And of course it's a small amount of people, but yeah, just that realization that you can't be the teacher for everyone. That's not your job. It's not your job. A student is going to learn from you not just by the lessons that you're teaching. They're going to learn from you not just by the connections you're making with them. They're going to learn from you in so many different ways. And it's not up to you to decide what they're meant to take away from their interaction with you. And it's also not up to you to decide what you're going to take away from your interaction with them. And I truly believe that our interactions with these people, whether we click or whether we're not for them, is so important for both people on both sides of this relationship. It gives us the opportunity to learn and to grow. And it's been through my most difficult moments, my most challenging times, that I have grown so much as a teacher. The tough years helped me to learn to practice different strategies, to try new things that I wouldn't normally have tried if everything was smooth sailing. And my mindfulness practice has been huge in helping me to learn to love myself unconditionally and be okay with the struggles and be okay with the ups and downs and just observe them and let them teach me something rather than trying to change it. That's one thing that I go into each day with the intention of letting the day be what it is for my growth and for my students' growth, and just trusting that it's for the betterment of everyone, no matter what unfolds.
Absolutely. You're connecting together in this space, in this classroom. And it's really interesting because when I was teaching, it was really pre-mainstream mindfulness. So that didn't exist. But I had a practice in my high school classroom that I started to implement about 5 years after my teaching journey began. And it was miraculous. And what I did was so similar to what you would be doing with your mindfulness practices at the beginning of each class. I remember on one of your podcasts, you said once that the 5-minute mindfulness at the beginning of a class gives the students a psychological breathing room to relax and gets their brains ready to learn. And I can see that. So what I used to do is read novels to my students. And they knew that the first 5 minutes of every class was me reading. And they could pile in and they would run. I'm not kidding you. 18-year-olds would run to get to my classroom so that they could sit down, and I'd let them sit on the beanbags and on the floor and whatever, and just listen to me read for 5 minutes. But what that really was, it wasn't even the novels, though the novels were great. It was the psychological break that they had from the busyness of everything that they had been doing, where they'd been expected to answer, and they were talking to their friends, and they were shuffling around, and they were trying to learn. But that 5 minutes was the mindfulness 5 minutes for them.
Yes.
And so when I heard what you guys were doing in the classroom, I thought, this is so important. Even just, and now the ability to sit and take that deep breath in and refocus. And I wrote a really funny blog post about this a while ago, but yeah, take that deep breath in and remember who you are, and then breathe out, just take it in and pause. Pressing the pause button is so important for kids and adults, for people taking care of children, and
Yes.
for people without children, right?
Absolutely. Side note, I love your happiness blog, and I encourage everyone to sign up because they're these short and sweet emails that are just so joyful and short and to the point, but just such a good thing to think about and consider, and helps me to shift my perspective to find more happiness. And I totally appreciate it. So thank you for taking that time to share that joy with us every week. It is, hey, every week?
Yeah. Thanks, Kaylee. Well, what I do is I send out an email every Sunday morning in Australia. So North Americans get it on Saturday night. And it's basically not me promoting myself or selling anything or whatever. It's just me relating something that I learned during the week. And you're right. It's short and sharp, to the point, with some beautiful photos and sometimes, funny things that happened in Australia. But I love my happiness blog too, because it's my way to share and teach, and really to say, I learned this amazing thing this week. Maybe this will help you too. And I take information from everywhere. So that's been really fun. And people can find it at my author's website, which is catherinegreer.com.au for Australia. And I'd love you to sign up if you want. I won't spam you, but it's an email once a week and it's a lot of fun. But I think the mindfulness journey that you and Josiane have been on with Educalm has really impacted me as well. And I love the collaboration that we've been able to do with Jacaranda Snow. So much fun. So we should tell people about the giveaway.
Yes, definitely. So Catherine has been so generous to share 5 books with us that we will get to share with our community. And a reminder that everyone that gets a Jacaranda Snow book also gains access to our Educalm lesson and guided mindfulness practice and all the fun things that go with it that we created to do with their students or with their child or with kids big and small to connect with the book on a deeper level and really continue learning that message and practicing that message of growth mindset, and the idea of I might not be there yet, but someday. So this giveaway is going to be so fun. 5 people are going to get a book, and we will share all the details of how to enter that giveaway at the end of this episode.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited to share the book around the world, and a lot of people have ordered it already via my website. We're still working on Amazon links and book depository links so that it's widely available worldwide. But at the moment, people can also find the book on my website, which is fantastic.
Awesome. And we'll link the website in the show notes as well. So if anyone missed Catherine, it's Catherine Greer .com.au. So we'll make sure to link that in the show notes so that you guys can get that if you're not sure about the spelling. All right. So Catherine, one thing I would like to sort of wrap up our chat with is, if there is one piece of advice you could give to your younger teacher self or your younger mother self, what would that be?
That would be, take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself first. It's such a simple concept, isn't it? I think we rush around and jump in thinking that everybody else's needs are so loud, right? When you're teaching, the crowd is loud. The kids are loud. Their needs are there. When you're parenting, it's exactly the same. The babies, the toddlers, everybody's need is so immediate. But you can't be the best version of yourself unless you just take that simple time to feel good in your own skin and to really give yourself a bit of love. I think we put ourselves at the end of the list sometimes, and I think sometimes we don't even get on the list. And it's really easy, especially when you love other people, which I do, and I'm a people person. It's really easy for us to put everyone else ahead of ourselves. But to take that moment and really figure out what brings me joy, what fills me up, and then do a little bit of that, and then take care of your kids, take care of your classroom, really important. And like you do all the time, Kaylee, I see you stop and breathe, right? Is that the yoga teacher in you?
That is the yoga teacher in me. Yes, I do a lot of deep breathing and a lot of modeling of deep breathing with my students as well. I take breathing breaks a lot. And you know what? It's so funny because even in our mind, we sometimes think like, I don't have time to take a deep breath. Like I've had my mind tell me that, like as I'm teaching and the class is busy and they're starting to chat when I'm trying to relay information that's important. I've been starting to just not say anything and take a nice deep breath and actually kind of connect to my inner wisdom and say, okay, what should I do now? And it just gives me this little space to calm down, connect back to not the frustrated me, not the, like, okay, we have to go, we have to hurry, we have to get through this me, but that calm side of me that knows intuitively what the next right step is to support myself and my students. So yes, deep breathing.
That's a wonderful tip. I think that's something I need to do more of. And when you do it, do you place your hand on your tummy or your hand on your heart or something? What do you do to model that to your students?
Yeah, so we've set up our cue in the classroom is that when I place one hand on my heart and one hand on my stomach, that means that it's time for everyone to look at me. And then we just breathe deeply until everyone's quiet. And sometimes they're quiet quickly, and sometimes it'll literally take 3 minutes, 3 whole minutes. And you know what? It is great practice for my deep breathing and to just watch my emotions. And, 3 minutes seems like a lifetime when you're standing in front of the class waiting for 20 students to stop chatting with their neighbors so that you can give instruction. But it's only 3 minutes. And I think it's so important to model that. And I got that idea actually from a guest that we had on the show and one of our Educalm teachers and one of our Educalm classroom teachers, Carolina. So that I have to thank you, Carolina, for that idea. And it's been really helping me. And also modeling that to my students and showing them that when they're feeling overwhelmed, because they can see that I'm feeling frustrated, right? And that's teaching them like, oh, when I feel frustrated, I see that this is a course of action that I could choose.
Absolutely. I think the modeling is critical. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to use that in my own life.
Yeah, do it.
Totally do it.
I totally recommend.
I have loved talking to you about this beautiful book and this project, and I'm excited for what we're going to collaborate on in the future because I feel like there'll be more to come.
Absolutely.
More for everybody.
Yeah.
I think overall, my overarching feeling about everything is that there is so much good in the world, and a lot of it is inside us, just waiting to get out. And I love to encourage people to find their own creativity and find their own voice. Remember who they were as kids and what truly gave them joy, not what was supposed to give them joy, because it's different for every one of us, but what truly did. And then find that part of yourself again and reconnect and have some time to play and explore and be the deepest expression of yourself.
Catherine, that is such wonderful advice that gave me goosebumps. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Now, can you remind everyone one more time, where's the best way for them to find you and connect with you?
Okay, well, I have a beautiful author's website where you can also find my happiness blog and sign up for that. And that's at catherinegreer.com.au. So it's traditional spelling, CatherineGreer.com.au, or on Instagram, Catherine Greer Sydney. I'm there a lot as well. And I love connecting with people. So if you do sign up for the blog or say hello, let me know that you came via Educalm. I love to know where people find me and be so fun to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so, so much for sharing your time and your joy and your kindness with us. And we are so excited to share Jacaranda Snow with everyone. And I cannot wait to get my hands on the copy so that I can teach it in my classroom, because it's actually going to line up really well with our social studies unit where we talk about poverty. So that's going to be really, really good as a different perspective for my Canadian students. And they'll also get to learn about jacaranda trees in Sydney. So cool. Thank you, Catherine.
I hope that you loved that interview as much as I did. I feel like there were so many quotable moments in this episode, and I just feel like there were so many takeaways. And Catherine Greer is just an amazing woman, and we've absolutely loved working with her through the development of this Jacaranda Snow lesson and resource toolkit. So your exit ticket for today is to go check it out. So if you go to www.educalm.com/Jacaranda Snow, and that is spelled Jacaranda, Jacaranda Snow, you can have a look, you can enroll all for free, and be sure to check out Catherine's website where you can purchase the book. So, another exit ticket, if you are from Manitoba, just a reminder that we will be having a professional development opportunity that you can sign up for right away. It's on November 9th, and we are going to teach you how to kickstart a mindfulness practice in your classroom. And we will also teach you exactly how to use Educalm Classroom and how it can be integrated into the regular Manitoba curriculum. So if you are interested in doing that, simply go to www.educalm.com/Educalm Classroom PD. And Educalm is spelled EDUCALME. What are we up to this week? Well, last week we had ACP, AFM, and SAGE, which are all teacher conferences here in Manitoba. One of them is a national conference, but I pre-recorded this episode just knowing that we would be really busy. And so I think this week we're kind of just going to be catching up on the day-to-day stuff in the business, continuing to work on our modules in Educalm Classroom. I'll be doing a couple podcast interviews, which I'm pumped about. And yeah, kind of just the catch up. And then there's also the fact that I'm in the classroom half time, and that's going really well. But yeah, that's half time. And I've been wanting to wait for Kaylee to come on to tell you guys this, but she mentioned it in today's episode. If you didn't already know, Kaylee got a full-time teaching position. So we're juggling a lot of things right now, but really excited for next week's podcast episode because we plan on chatting about Kaylee's experience in her new classroom. So that should be awesome. Oops, I almost forgot to tell you guys about the Jacaranda Snow books giveaway. So just stay tuned on Instagram. It's going to pop up later this week. And our Instagram handle is at Educalm, EDUCALME. So basically it's going to be, you're going to have to follow us and follow Catherine and tag a friend. So it's going to be as simple as that. Stay tuned. That's coming up towards the end of the week. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'm excited to see you again next week. Thanks for sharing your time with us, and may you have an awesome week.
Hey there, Balanced Educator. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing in the world. We are here to support you, so we've created a free resource library for you to use anytime you want. resources for mindfulness for you and your kiddos at home or in the classroom. You can get these free resources by going to www.educalm.com/The Balanced Educator. Again, that's www.educalm, that's spelled educalme.com/The Balanced Educator. Thank you for being a part of our Educalm community.